Hello and welcome to the inaugural South Bucks Diamond Cup virtual race on Zwift. Over 50 riders from High Wycombe, Amersham, Beaconsfield and Marlow cycling clubs will take on the 2015 UCI World Championship course in Richmond. The course itself is approximately 33 kilometres long, consisting of 2 laps of a 16.2 kilometre course with 142 metres of elevation. The course, though largely flat, should not be underestimated. A long descent after the second timed sprint leads to the first climb of Libby Hill, a steep, twisting, cobbled section followed almost immediately by 23rd Street, made famous by Peter Sagan's winning attack in the 2015 World Championships. Though a short climb, it reaches a gradient of 19%. The final climb, up to the finish, is long and slow and will prove decisive for those that have gone too hard at the start. 9 seconds to go until the start. We join the Category A riders in the start pen. They'll be followed at 1 minute intervals by the Bs, Cs and Ds. And the riders are off with, it looks like, one rider has a mechanical at the start and is left there. The format for tonight's race is a team competition with only the team leaders from each club able to earn points. All other riders will act in a supporting role as domestiques. Tactics and experience are going to be very important as the pace is likely to be extremely high. The first team leader on screen now, Neil Turner from Amersham, holding over 300 watts. A veteran of 115 Zwift races. Now we switch to Lee Goward from Wycombe. Not an experienced Zwifter, but a very experienced cyclist, and he is pushing off the front, perhaps trying to increase the pace, see who he can drop early on in the race. At 30 seconds into the race, Goward is holding a high pace here, and if anything it seems to be increasing slightly. It'll take a few minutes for this group to settle. But at the moment, all of the Cat A leaders are in this group. Matt Tom, team leader from Beaconsfield, on screen now. A quick look at Jay Williams, the other team lead for Amersham in Category A, before we have a look at the Bs. And don't forget, this group has started 1 minute after the A's. Here we have Barry Davis, team lead for Beaconsfield and race organiser. And also in this group, Gavin Smith, team lead for Wycombe, and in there as well, Phil Duck from Marlow. With the Category C riders now, and Aidan O'Mahony, team leader for Amersham, and just up ahead of him, Jig Patel, the other team lead for the Category C from Amersham. At 2 minutes 55 seconds into the race, the pace is proving high already. This group is some 30 seconds behind the group ahead of them, but they in turn are some 25 seconds ahead of the chasing bees behind them, so already quite strung out. Here we have a Wycombe rider. Don't know who it is, but unfortunately has found himself stranded between two groups. Hope it doesn't last too long. 2.9 kilometres into the race, 3 minutes 52 seconds with Gavin Smith from Wycombe. The pace for this group has begun to settle. Average powers are down now by 60 to 100 watts. Along with him in this group, Alan W. from Amersham, Barry Davis from Beaconsfield and James Barlow from Marlow. Just a couple of minutes later, this group has already begun to strung out with Peter Stainer from Amersham and Phil Duck from Marlow now taking the lead. At 6 minutes into the race, these riders will now be thinking about the pace that they can hold for the remainder of the race, bearing in mind that the first climbs will come within, I think, 5 kilometres. Back now with Category A and the legend of Bob McClue, 965 Zwift races under his belt, so clearly a rider to watch. At 6.7 kilometres, 8 minutes 42 seconds in, and also in this group, 2 of the junior riders competing today, one from Wycombe and one from Beaconsfield. And an interesting fact, I worked out roughly that the age gap between the youngest rider riding today and the oldest is about 55 years. So it will be interesting to see how the strength and fitness of the younger riders compares with those of the more experienced racers. Back with the Category C riders now, and 7 seconds ahead of them the Category B group. It won't be long before they merge. Lisa from Beaconsfield on screen now, but just ahead of her, Nisbet from High Wycombe, one of the junior riders, a brave move. Just behind him, Goward from Wycombe. I don't think this is an attack from Nisbet, but either way I think I'd probably advise at this stage he lets the group catch up with him. In fact, they are doing that just now. And this is the other junior rider in the competition, Angus Stoneham from Beaconsfield, or technically in Zwift terms under 20 rider. This is where it gets interesting. This group all started at the bottom of this climb together, but now they're beginning to stretch out. Some riders are getting isolated already. I think roughly 22 seconds from the front of this group now to the back as they reach the KOM banner. Some riders pushing over 9 watts per kilo. At 18 minutes 29 seconds, the front of the Category A group passes under the KOM banner and begins the next short downhill descent. With McClue from Wycombe, riders taking an opportunity to rest slightly on this downhill section before they turn the corner at the bottom and begin the climb up towards the finish. And just a few seconds later, as the riders round this corner, Wycombe seemed to put in a huge attack, with McClue in particular reaching 494 watts. Along with him, Andy Davies as well, the other team leader from Wycombe. Just dropping off the pace slightly, Goward from Wycombe, but a number of other riders behind him. I'm wondering whether his early pace has caused any issues or whether that was part of the tactics. 9 seconds further behind Goward is Blackham from Beaconsfield, and further behind him the leaders from both Beaconsfield and Amersham. So this A group has strung out over quite a long distance. It looks as if we've just missed the Category B riders going through the KOM banner. Now they're on the downhill at 14.6 kilometres, 19 minutes 22 seconds, with Davis from Beaconsfield, along with him Stainer, team leader from Amersham. Just a few seconds further back, Alan W from Amersham, and I think it's Gavin Smith, yes, a few seconds further behind him from Wycombe. And here we have, I think, the first viewing of James Barlow from Marlow, even further back in the field. So the Category B riders are suffering the same fate. Now with Category C at 15.9 kilometres. And Aidan O'Mahony leading for Amersham, with Category B, and Jeremy Crook, leader from High Wycombe. And Gavin Smith from Wycombe as well. This is now the front of the B group, with some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders. Davis, Beaconsfield, Lancier, Beaconsfield, and Stainer from Amersham, all in this group. I think these are going to be the contenders for the end of this race. Just ahead of the B group is the back end of Category A, Neil Turner from Amersham. Group 2 of Category A, Matt Tom, leader from Beaconsfield, some 1 minute 29, 1 minute 30 behind the leading Category A riders. Though this coverage is clearly focused on the South Bucks Diamond Cup, worth pointing out at this stage that the 2 riders that go on to get first and second place in the race overall are some 46 seconds ahead. A leader each from both Wycombe and Beaconsfield in this group, and nice to see Goward back up there at the front. With Category B at 21.7 kilometres, 30 minutes into the race. Riders from Amersham, Wycombe and Beaconsfield in this group, but 40 seconds further back, a split with the B group. Duck from Marlow and his fellow teammate James Barlow as well. A great performance here from Patel, leader from Amersham. And here is his teammate O'Mahony, some 2 minutes I think behind at this stage, so Patel's doing very well with no other team leads from any of the other clubs in sight at this stage. Back with Category A now. Goward, Nisbet and Bruce providing great domestic duties for Davies from Wycombe. Also in this group, Stoneham from Beaconsfield, team lead. With less than 5k remaining, these riders will be thinking very carefully about their plan for the next few kilometres. Don't forget, a couple of hills to come yet. Wycombe looking particularly strong as a team at this stage. And here comes one of those hills, and already the riders are beginning to stretch out a little. Bruce and Goward leading the charge, but Beaconsfield with Stoneham in there as well. And here are the riders entering this steep, twisted cobble section with gradients up to 19%. Let's see if they manage to stay together. A few power-ups coming out, featherweight I can see. An impressive performance from all of the riders in this group, as I think, yes, they all managed to stay together. Even though there's downhill coming, no time for relaxing with only 3 and a bit kilometres remaining in this race. Not the front of the B group, but interesting nonetheless, as Stainer, Amersham team lead for Category B, has managed to overtake Williams, Category A team lead from Amersham. With Category A now on the last cobble climb of the day at 30.6 kilometres, just as McClue, Wycombe and Stoneham Beaconsfield pass under the KOM banner. That was a tough climb so close to the end, but following a downhill there's another gradual climb up towards the finish, with the final 1 kilometre being flat. 1 kilometre further on, the riders have finished the downhill section. Goward's dropped off, his job is now complete. At 32.5 kilometres, the riders are now on the final climb of the day. Not too steep, but between 5 and 8%, but still significant. This climb is almost a false flat all the way to the finish, so the last little section is slightly downhill. All the power-ups in play now, 32.6 kilometres. The riders round the final bend, finishes ahead of them. Nisbet's gone off for a sprint already by the looks of it. Pity he isn't one of the team leaders. Stoneham on screen now from Beaconsfield. Everyone's going for it now. It looks like we've managed to avoid, or they've managed to avoid, the bunch sprint, but nonetheless they're all pretty close together. It's Stoneham, Davies and McClue fighting for the finish. Looks as if they might finish in that order. There's a bit of a push coming on from McClue. No, it says Stoneham who crosses the line first, followed by Davies and then McClue. And then a little further back, Matt Tom from BCC, and with the Bs now, Davis. So up the front for the sprint finish was Davis and Lancier from Beaconsfield, Alan W from ARCC. With Alan W from Amersham, you can see the other 2 riders ahead of him. He's beginning to build it up though. I think he's going for it. I think he might just catch these guys. And here he comes in what looks like a well-timed sprint. Looks as if Davis is about to be passed, and here comes Amersham overtaking Lancier, but Lancier's having none of it by the looks of it. He's up out of the saddle, full power. He's a big unit. I think he might just do this one. Let's see what happens. Yes, and Lancier crosses the line, followed by Davis, and then Lancier followed by Alan W from Amersham, and then Davis. A quick look at some of the other finishers. Gavin Smith from Wycombe crossing the line some 16 seconds later. Neil Turner from Amersham behind him by, I think at this stage, a couple of minutes. Williams from Amersham crosses the line in 49.34. J. Williams Amersham crossing the line in 49.34. James Barlow, first rider back for Marlow, in a time of 49.32, and not far behind his teammate Phil Duck, who crosses the line in a time of 49.57. Jig Patel from Amersham, a very convincing ride from him as he approaches the finish line. and he eventually crosses some 2 minutes ahead of his nearest competitor, one of his own teammates, Aidan O'Mahony. And as we watch the final riders crossing the line, a summary of the results for this evening's race. First in category A, Angus Stoneham. First in category B, Sam Lancier. And first in category C, Jig Patel. Which means when it's all added up, the overall team positions are as follows: Beaconsfield 36 points, Amersham 33 points, High Wycombe 25 points, and Marlow on 11 points. So a great evening's racing. Thanks to Barry Davis for organising it all. Hope you all enjoyed watching it, and see you next time. Thank you.